The deeper we get into the Sarah Gaunt thing, the less it's looking good for your boy Chuck. Like, this issue of Uncanny X-Men, the beginning, straight out of Jerry Springer. God rest his soul. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We're continuing our coverage of Uncanny X-Men number 4. So our story starts off in England back in the day, where our boy Chuck was going to school and dating Sarah, and they look happy. But on the next page, all that happiness goes right out the window. She pretty much says that she's pregnant. Your boy Chuck is like, oh, time out. How do you know? It's like too soon. And she's like, I know. And Chuck is like, well, what do you want to do? Like, he's either saying, baby ain't mine, or I ain't taking care of that. Like, this is not looking good. And she's like, look, only thing I want is what they got. As a couple walks by with their baby. And then we cut to present day Louisiana, where we have a bam. So now Rogue and Nightcrawler smell like farts. And Kurt's like, are you certain we're going the right way? And Rogue's like, Kurt, I love you, but don't ask me that again. And Kurt's like, I understand. So now they bamf to the ground. So now they continue to smell like farts. And they're looking around for Wolverine. They see blood and what looks like to be a fight. And they're like, all right, we need to start looking around and scanning for Logan. And Nightcrawler's like, no, we don't. He's right over there. And he looks damn near dead. So they're trying to help him up. And then also, too, they're asking him, who was that? Wolverine's like, I don't know. Death, I guess, because I am dying. So Rogue's like, all right, Nightcrawler, you need to take Wolverine back. And I'm going to stick around and try to find this person. And Nightcrawler's like, why don't we all go and we come back with an army? And then Rogue's like, well, it's one problem. You guys made me team leader, so you need to do what I say. Dip out. So Rogue calls Remy, lets him know what happened to Wolverine, and not to come and help her out with this, but to take care of Wolverine. And then Wolverine's like, look, you really shouldn't fight this lady, but if you're going to, at least take some of my healing factor, because you're going to need it. Which I'm sitting there like, why isn't his healing factor working in the first place? Now, I know it probably has something to do with her claws, but they need to go into a little bit more detail on exactly why it's able to shut down his healing factor. The only thing that I know that can shut down his healing factor is a Muramasa blade. So unless she has Muramasa claws, I don't see how this is happening. So now Nightcrawler and Wolverine vamp out of there. So Wolverine smells like blood, death, and farts. And as soon as they leave, Sarah comes calling. Rogue hits her with a double axe handle, and Sarah hits Rogue with a back fist that sends Rogue flying. And Rogue's thinking to herself, this woman hits harder than Colossus. So Nightcrawler bamps Wolverine back to the house, in the kitchen specifically. So now the kitchen smells like farts. So they get him to the table, and Jubilee is like, what the hell? Like, no, this can't be happening. Everybody's pretty much dumbfounded. So then we cut to Grey Malkin, where the old guy is talking to the heifer. So the old guy lets the heifer know that Sarah is fighting Rogue, and that the kids are with the other X-Men at the hideout. So the old man's like, we need to help those kids. And she pretty much says the equivalent of them kids. So the old man's like, those kids are pretty much the same age as your brother. And the heifer pretty much says, watch what you say next, old man, and walks away. So Sarah pretty much catches Rogue right in the head, and Rogue's like, that's a concussion, or worse. I'm thinking to myself, what's worse than a concussion? And also, too, if you didn't know, Rogue is invulnerable. So if she's hitting so hard that Rogue is hurt, that's saying something. So Sarah grabs Rogue by her hair, slams her into the ground head first, stomps on her head, and I'm like, man, Rogue is getting torn up. But speaking of up, that's exactly what Rogue throws, an uppercut right to Sarah's jaw. And then she gives her a knee to the face, and then she lets her know that she has Wonder Man's powers. She also has, she was going to say Miss Marvel, because when Carol Danvers got her powers taken away from Rogue, she was Miss Marvel at the time. But she corrects herself and goes, and I got a little bit of Captain Marvel's power too. But also, I got a little bit of Logan. And he wants me to tell you to go to hell. And she punches the Jesus out of Sarah. So she goes in for another hit, and then Sarah knocks a bejesus out of her. And she goes, trash talking only worked for Spider-Man. Didn't work for me right here. So then she's like, all right, hold on. Time out. Wait a minute. Let's take a minute. Stop hitting me. If Rogue's saying that, Sarah must be packing a wallop. So the Rogue's like, look, I could just take away your powers. And then Sarah's like, and then you'd be me. You really want that? So then Sarah kind of breaks down how she became what she is. That there was a hurricane, a really big hurricane. Now they don't outright say it was Hurricane Katrina, but they are in Louisiana, so you can kind of connect the dots. And she was pretty much hanging on for dear life. Nobody was coming to help them. They're like sitting on top of a roof. She said she was holding on to the house with one arm, and she was holding her son, who was 9, in her other arm. Well, eventually she fell asleep, and her son that was in her other arm was gone. Eventually, she let go to the house, and she went into the water. She was in the water for 3 days, and when she came out, she was like this. So Rogue's like, but you can't blame mutants for that. And she was like, I don't. I blame Charles. So the Rogue's like, but how'd she survive? Like, you might be a mutant. And obviously Sarah doesn't want to hear any of that. So just when Rogue thought the worst thing she was dealing with was a concussion, Sarah snaps her arm like a twig. So all of a sudden, we see the heifer sitting in front of her computer, and she calls Gambit like she has him on speed dial. And she's like, there is a small army coming your way. Good luck, Mr. LeBeau. And hangs up. Now, why the heifer did that, I have no idea. Like, this is a crazy, like, kind of scenario. It's not like your typical, this is the bad guy, these are the good guys, and they're going to go at it. No, there's all kinds of shades of gray in here. So Gambit, Jubilee, and Nightcrawler walk outside, and there is a small army out there waiting on them. And our dear girl from episode 1 looks a tad bit different, so I'm assuming her demeanor is also a little bit different too. So the 4 mutant kids walk out, and they're like, you ain't gotta fight this alone. We're here together, as they make the mutant sign. Gambit says a speech, and then Wolverine's like, that might have been the worst battle speech in X-Men history. And Gambit's like, you think Chuck or Scott could do better? And Wolverine's like, fair. But you know what? Why don't you just point me in the direction of the bad guys while I'm still standing? Now, the reason why he said that is because he has like this bandage over his eyes. So not only is he hurt, but he's also blind too. So you know this ain't going to be good.